Da-da-da-da-da. Good morning and welcome to the Schooner Morning Show. We're almost live because we're doing this just before the interview took place. We did it earlier in the week and the sound didn't come out, Cornelia. So Cornelia's been so good to come right down and get it on again. We hope everybody enjoyed last night. We went around door to door to kind of make sure that you folks would have some type of Christmas party, but it wasn't a party. It was a door-to-door celebration, all physically distanced and safe with masks, and even Santa had a mask on. You saw him?
I did indeed.
Oh,
I
good.
got a gift from him too.
Yeah, that's
Very
great.
nice one.
That's great. So tell us, Cornelia, our guest today is Cornelia Bowe in apartment 513. Tell us where you were born.
In Syracuse, New York. But before I start, I want to say how terrific the party was last night. The celebration.
The celebration, that's right, door to door.
I think it was just, I was just so impressed with the care that Schooner took to give us a little special things at Christmas time.
Well, thank you.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, a lot of planning went into that. It was Plan B.
It couldn't have been better.
Oh,
It couldn't have
good.
been better.
Thank you so much.
So
Syracuse is getting socked right now with snow galore.
It is. Well, when we were growing up, we lived in the university section and we were only a few blocks from the country. But now the city has expanded several miles beyond that. But in my day, I wanted to say on my 10th birthday was one of my best birthdays. I got my first bicycle and my first kitten. And the minute I had my bicycle with the neighborhood kids, we used to ride all over the countryside.
Yeah.
On the weekends and every day after school in the spring and the fall.
Isn't that great?
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I wanted to tell you about my 4th birthday too. I wouldn't cut my birthday cake, or wouldn't let my mother cut my birthday cake until my father came home from work. And he never came home. It was the day of the big crash before the big depression of the 30s. He was a stockbroker, and there had been threats on the people in the office, and the police made everybody stay in the office all night.
Oh,
of course,
my.
when I was 4 years old, I didn't understand any of that.
Right.
But in retrospect, it was a special birthday.
Yeah, I'll say.
And that's such a nice way.
and a smart move by the police, but I was afraid you were going to say something happened to him. When you said the crash, I said, oh no. But the stock market, I'm sure people lost their livelihoods and probably were after those stockbrokers. Wow.
Well, they were good up until that day, and then after that, for the next 20 years, they weren't so good.
That's true, 20 years. So you went to school in New York, Syracuse, New York.
I went to Syracuse, local public schools. Yeah.
All the way through and then off to college somewhere?
I went away to college, and then I always wanted to go to New York, I graduated, of course, in June, and spent the summer vacationing at our family cottage that belonged to my grandmother, where all our cousins gathered every year. And then in September, I went to New York and never came home again.
Never came home again, yeah, right. And you ended up in the city, New York City,
right.
And loved it.
Uh-huh. Well, in the last 20 years or so in my retirement, I lived in the suburbs, in New Jersey, but most of it in New York, yes.
Right, and I remember you saying you used to go to the plays and you used to just enjoy all the restaurants and just the...
Well, after a few years, in the beginning I didn't have enough money. I only made, my first salary was $18 a month.
Oh my goodness.
And that's all I had.
Wow. And to live in the city, that had to...
Well, I had to be subsidized by my family.
That's not an uncommon story.
In the beginning, I lived at the YWCA. That wasn't very expensive.
Right, yeah.
But over the many years I lived there, things got better and better.
Yeah. As you did better and made more money, and now you had several different jobs, if I remember right. What was your first job?
For the first 8 years, I worked in fashion retail in the department stores.
Yeah.
And then that last year at the Christmas season, we had to work 60 hours a week for no extra pay.
Oh,
And I decided that was not for me
right.
anymore.
Yeah.
So that's when I applied for a job as a fashion writer at the newspaper, and that job was filled, so they gave me a job as a staff writer, and I also had a column, and that was my best job, but my lowest paying job
Oh.
of the regular jobs.
But you loved it.
But, yeah, I would have stayed there forever at the low pay, but the paper went out of business.
Oh.
And when the paper went out of business, I became a public relations consultant.
Yeah, yeah. So when you were working 60 hours, that was back before they had a law that you had to be paid overtime.
Oh, must have been.
Right. I mean, were you
Well,
knowing you like
it was in the early 40s.
well, knowing you like I did, you were probably the woman that was instrumental in getting that law passed.
Marching in the streets and waving
Right.
flags.
I would expect you to be doing that.
Not really. I felt like it. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Now you had told me that you the city was so expensive and you had roommates and stuff, and then eventually you moved across the river into New Jersey.
Yeah, but even then I couldn't do it on my own. My mother and I bought a house together, and by that time she was ready not to live alone in Syracuse anymore.
Right.
So the two of us moved together in a house that we bought together in New
Oh,
Jersey.
that's a great plan. That's a great idea.
it worked out
That-
very well.
You know, that's a plus or what they say, a win-win for both parties to
Yeah,
do
well,
that.
Of course, it was a bit of a struggle. My mother would rather I had moved back to Syracuse, but
Right, right.
But she was a good sport. She was over 80 when she left
Isn't
home.
it? Yeah?
And all her friends and
Well, that makes perfect sense to me. So you got your good sportedness handed down from your mother.
I guess
Because
so.
you're a good sport too. Cornelia goes with us on all the trips and loves to eat out and is just a party lady. She loves it.
Well, there's nothing else for us to do here. much.
Right, right. And a card player, a wonderful bridge card player. You were telling me about playing bridge?
Oh, yes, I did tell you last time. My father was a very good player, and he took my sister and myself. My sister was 2 years younger, and I was 7, I remember. And he
Yeah.
sat us down on the floor and taught us how to play bridge.
Wow.
And he would play with us.
Yeah, yeah.
He must have had a lot of patience.
And that's a pastime of the whole family. I remember
Yes,
you telling me
yes.
that you folks would go to the family farm and everybody would play
Yeah,
bridge.
Right.
Boy, that's fantastic. So what other hobbies and things do you have? What other, passions and hobbies and...
Well, I was always an outdoor person. I
Okay.
liked outdoor activities, pretty much. Well, and of course, bridge, but, and reading, music.
Yeah?
Uh,
Traveling?
Traveling.
Oh, definitely. You've been all over the world.
I've been around the world once. And
Just once.
only once.
And down the Mississippi recently. That
Yeah,
was
I
just
went
a
with
few years
I
ago.
went with Adele Irving.
Yeah, just...
And we had a little bit of a flaw in that the river was flooded.
Oh,
And so we couldn't really travel on the Mississippi, so they took us on the Ohio to Paducah, Kentucky.
yeah?
And we went to the quilt show in Paducah, Kentucky, and it was fabulous.
Oh boy, Vera Bunker would love to hear about that. She's quite the quilter.
And they had a wonderful quilt display here, and I don't think I would have been interested in it, particularly if I hadn't already been to one before.
Right, right. It's funny what sparks our interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, boy, you've awful done a lot, and that explains you going out in snowstorms with
I'm
your.
going to go out today.
I know you are.
I just saw this morning that we had a nice, but I'm waiting for them to shovel the road out front.
It's very.
Then I'll go.
Well, I think they're going to use a blower because it's light, puffy snow. So they're going to get out the leaf blowers and they're going to blow all the snow away.
Well, I looked out and I saw it and I said, oh, well, I got to get ready to go for a walk. But I'll
Cornelia.
wait for them to clear it first.
Cornelia gives us all heart trouble because she's out in all the bad weather. The worse the weather, the more she likes it to go out and walk. But anyway, it's just wonderful. I'll tell you, and the story of how you came to live here, your sister came first, right?
That's
Because
right.
her daughter lives close by.
Right.
So your sister came, and I remember you coming to visit her, and you said, boy, this is kind of a nice place and everything. And then when you both decided that you wanted to live in a senior living community, I remember getting the phone call and they wanted 2 one-bedroom deluxes, preferably adjoining on the first floor. And I said,
Lots of specifications.
lots of specifications. And I said, well, good luck with that. I've been here, at the time was about 15 or 18 years, and I said, good luck, I've never seen that happen. Lo and behold, within weeks, it happened. And we were able to cut a hole in the wall and put a door in so that the sisters could have happy hour every night.
I'm still doing it.
Still doing it to this day.
But Schooner helped us out last night.
Yes, yes. Well, I've got to tell you, Cornelia Bowe is the epitome of Schooner Estates. She fit right in as if she'd lived here all her life, and we couldn't be happier to have you here. I wish there were 20 more just like you.
Well, it makes me feel good. But there are an awful lot of people here who came because their parents had been here and liked it,
Yes.
which I find. But sometimes no one makes me feel like an outsider. I feel that way myself because I don't have generations of Maine
Right.
experience in my family.
Right.
The way a lot of people here do.
Yeah.
And all the talk about past Maine experiences with local people is all very interesting to me.
Oh boy, that's great to hear. Yeah, she's always learning about the state of Maine. A lifelong learner. I just love it. Cornelia, thank you so much for coming down this morning and being part of our show. This has been the Schooner Morning Show. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 10:05. Thank you. Thanks, Cornelia.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Now I got to go home and turn on my TV and watch it.
That's right.